Welcome back everyone to my channel, Obsessed with Christmas. I'm Rebecca and today we're going to be doing part 1 of the farm, and this one will actually have 2 water features, so you're going to get to see more of how that's done. Grab all your tools, or if you prefer, grab your popcorn and favorite drink and settle in. Alright guys, so for the farm, this is the whole platform here. Over here is where the river is going to go. For the pond, or maybe you heard it called a tank as well, I'm going to take one of these pieces of styrofoam. It's about, I don't know, 3.5, 4 inches by about 4.5, 5 inches. And all I'm going to do is take this is my 6-inch blade from Hotwire Foam Factory. This is one of the variable heat tools. It's not, they have 2, and this is the less expensive one. And it works great. No complaints so far. All I did is plug it into this, hit the on switch, okay? And how hot or not is controlled by this thing with the little knob, okay? So I want my lake to be fairly good sized. I don't know why I keep saying lake. It's not a lake. It's not near big enough to be a lake. My tank. We had cows growing up, and I'm going to just say tank. All I'm doing here is this, so that way I don't cut into my styrofoam, right? I prefer to do it this way. And I'm just making kind of some random shapes, making sure to stay within the piece that I have. Okay. All right. Turn this off. I always like to turn it off as soon as I'm done with it. Don't let it linger. We're going to cut this part out because I'm walking away and getting a rag, and I'm coming back. Okay. All right. So now I have this hole here. I have laid out all the pieces already. This is going to be the tank for the animals to drink out of. So my blacksmith is going to be about here, so that's probably a good spot. So I'm going to glue that down, and then I'm going to take some of these pieces. This is a longer piece here. There were scrap pieces, and I'm going to sort of do a jigsaw type formation. And I kind of figure out where things are. You know, maybe we'll do this, and we're going to back up. So where all these edges are here, I'm probably going to take one of my other hot tools maybe and just kind of try to make like a sloping angle so that it's just not the super sharp step up. Although there could be those areas in the, country setting, but I'm just going to make it where it's not, just a super sharp setup. So this is my freehand router, and I think this will be the perfect tool for this job. Let's see. We need, I think, one more piece of styrofoam. You can't see because it's off camera, but I can see that it's smoking. They do get hot. So just be careful. So That'll probably be good. Maybe we'll even try to, I don't know, we may be, this is the chaos department right here. This could in fact be, we may be doing some, what's the word? We may be doing some plastering. Okay, so this tool is not the best to do what I just did, which is cut a piece in half, but I didn't want to have to unplug it and do the other one because I'm about to use it a lot. I've moved it by touching these pieces. It's okay. Don't touch the wire. That's the hot part. Okay. I think we need something there. I don't know. Maybe it needs to slope down. We'll find out. We'll find maybe this. Maybe that slopes down. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Oops. That's the hard part, isn't it? Making it. Okay, now that we have cut all of this, I'm going to get my Styro Goo. And this is the bigger bottle. If you're serious about crafting, this is one I recommend. All right. And I'm just going to put, you know, a few dabs here and there. And my slope area is over here. It's hard for you guys to see, but it is over here, so that's good. We are going to go ahead and plaster over this as well, because that will take out those harsh seams. And those harsh edges. And kind of maybe mush that down right there. Okay. Yeah. I didn't do this side, but that's okay. We're going to plaster over it. It will. I can always glue more rock to it if I want to. In fact, we might even make it a little bit off center so it's not so like, you know, ta-da! Yeah. Found a tiny piece of scrap foam. And we're just going to sort of stick it in there. Okay. And no buildings are going to go on these, like on this area. It's just going to be for, you know, farm animals, etc. This one more piece of filler foam. And we're sticking that just back there. Okay. Now, this there. so once this dries, we are going to move on to plastering. We're not going to plaster the whole platform. We're just going to plaster the white part. Since we were last here, I have plastered over the styrofoam that I had glued down and we were waiting for it to dry. And then the darker spots here are where I used plaster of Paris, just mixed it with water in a bowl. Use a paintbrush or your fingers. A paintbrush does actually yield better results. Then waited for that to dry to try to cover up the holes, especially for the, here in Texas we call it a tank or pond, tank area. And I'm going to do a quick black wash. And remember, for your black wash, I would save one of your empty containers because it's a airtight way to save stuff and then you don't waste as much. About, I guess, 70 or so % water, 30% paint. I eyeball it, so I have no idea. This could be 50-50. It's less than 70-30 because it's not dripping off, but that's fine. My goal is to just start the first layer, get this dry, and I plastered off camera because, guys, it has been so hot here, and it just has been miserable. It's been like 90, 100 degrees, and if you watch this video later for reference, mid-May, so it's already too hot. That's why I start so early. This morning it's about, I think my phone said about 70 degrees and there's a light breeze, so that's not bad. Okay. And as usual for our black wash, it's going to go all over, and then we may or may not do the gray wash. You know, we experimented last time, right, with not doing the gray, and it actually turned out pretty well because of how much ground cover we put. So I might actually skip that step because it did turn out well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and paint the rest of this black except for this part right here because this part is going to be our tank. So the bank of it, I'm going to do sort of a dark brown because this brown that I have here is just called brown. It's from Michael's, and it's a little bit too light for my taste. So I'm going to mix it with a little bit of black paint, not a lot, because remember, black goes a very long way. So little black goes a very long way. So I'm going to do that brown, dark brown. And then in here, it will be blue of some sort. Some people do a green water. That's always pretty too. But in my brain, the water needs to be really nice, clear, clean blue. All right, guys. So I've touched up just a couple more places where when it dried, you could see some of the white shining through. And then we are now going to mix our brown paint with our black. This was an accident. I meant to pour just the tiniest amount, and so it all came out, which was the opposite of what I was going for. Nevertheless, we're just going to dip it in, dip our brush in, and mix it in here until we get the color a little bit more, I think. till we get the color we really want. That's better. Okay. I just rotated the platform around. So I'm going to take my paint and we're going to start here. Again, if this overlaps on the black, it is okay, because we're going to also put gravel and other things. Saw a white part that wasn't covered all the way there. And it's okay if you're, and probably preferable actually, if it's not necessarily all the same color. In nature, it's not all the same color. So I'm just putting this in. This is not brown wash. It does not have any water in it. We need a little bit more, I think. Just a little bit. So do like just another squirt. Not very much. Stick it back in. Swirl it around. If you do get it too dark and you're like, uh-oh, just do a little bit more of your other color. In this case, it would be brown. Sometimes you do mix a color and you're like, ooh, that's not going to work. And you can't really add enough of the lighter color to fix it. In that case, just bite the bullet and start over. It's easier that way. I'm just lightly sort of dabbing, because I think what I'm going to do, and this is always a, situation for me. I'm just going to play it by ear. I think I'm going to make this part the darker blue, and then we'll come up with kind of a lighter blue. So I sort of put too much there that kind of got away from me. But I'm going to put the lighter blue right at the top. Not that this tank is very deep. Okay, I mean, it's a watering hole for cattle and, horses, right? So it's not really that deep. But, yeah. So I will probably put blue over that. And again, that's okay. This is not an exact science, and you do not have to get it just 100% right on the first try. And it is so hot here, guys. About, I don't know, 90 maybe this evening when I'm doing this. That the paint is already, you might not be able to tell on the camera, but I can tell in person, it is already drying, which is allowing me to see these white pieces. Oops, that's too much. That's okay. We'll cover that up. We dry in 10 minutes. In a cooler climate, it will take longer. All right. For you guys, it'll be just a second. For me, a couple minutes. I'm going to wash this brush and get a couple of other brushes for the blue, including a brush I will not put any paint on. It is going to be my blending brush. All right. I have my 3 brushes I'm going to use. This one is my stiffer brush, which is going to be the mixing brush. Since the tank is not going to be that deep, we're just going to use our 2 colors, bright blue and pale blue. Again, you can find these at Michael's if you haven't seen my other videos yet. And always handy paper plate. Suppose you could use a palette if you really want one. I just like the paper plates. I always start with a dab. You can use more. I could use a bigger brush, but when it comes to the edges, this is where I want the fine brush. Here, we'll do this actually. There we go. However, if this is driving you crazy and you want to get a bigger brush, when you do it, go right ahead. And now as I get to the edge, I have to make, as Bob Ross might say, we have to make some decisions. How far, I'm not quite to the edge here on this one, but how far up are we going to go? Is this whole thing going to be blue? This whole about, what, ½ inch or so? Is that all going to be the light blue, or are we going to carry this heavier blue? I don't know. These are things I think about. And it's possible that, you know, things do get redone on occasion. Like my blue steps for my observatory area, they did not start out blue, but I had painted them, and I said to myself, that's not a good color. And so I went over them in black again, and I redid them. Okay, I think I've made a decision. I think we're going to go up like a little bit, and this is where I'll need the paper plate more, so I can sneak in and get a dab. And we're just going to go up like maybe that much. Yeah, that looks nice. And then once all this paint dries, of course, we go to the resin. Okay, here we go with our pale blue, and of course we can't just pour that willy-nilly over there. I have my even smaller brush, okay, very small, because this area is very small, and I want more precision. I am trying to work fairly quickly because it is in fact pretty hot. out here. I may actually turn the platform around in a minute, so we'll finish this side first. I'm not going to turn it around after all. Oops, that's okay. That I just got there will either, I can repaint brown, or I can cover up with foliage. Need one more. That was too much, but it's okay. And in the intro, I told you guys there are going to be 2 water features. Unfortunately, then I got paint happy and I covered it up. It's supposed to be in the back, so we're going to have to probably pull that piece out again, remark for the river, and remeasure so that I can have the river the right length for the mill. This part here, whatever reason, the filming didn't come out. I just took a brush and I made little circles between the 2 parts of the paint where they met. Just made little circles over and over again until I achieved the desired result. See y'all next time. Bye.